Hello viewers. In part 1 of IoT series, we have discussed about IoT in a basic level and also discussed about the components required for the IoT projects such as sensors, protocols, controllers, cloud system and the front-end applications. So in part 2, we are going to discuss about the network requirement for implementing the IoT projects. Let's start with the PPT. Okay, if you want to talk about IoT, there are plethora of technologies are involved to complete the IoT project. So what are all those things? The first and foremost thing is embedded system, and the second one is big data analysis. Why big data analysis comes into picture? Because there are a lot of sensors are implemented in a field. There are thousands and thousands of sensors are there, actuators is there, and machines are there. All the information collected from there are it's big, very big in size, and it's difficult to handle it. Big data analysis will taken care of this part and present to the user in a nice manner. Artificial intelligence, the raw data which is collected from the big data analysis or from the cloud computing and was used as an input for the artificial intelligence. Then some artificial intelligence was given to the input data, and then it is manipulated and given to the front end user. Cellular technologies. Cellular technologies are mainly used to communicate the controller with the internet world. And the wireless sensor networks. Wireless sensor networks are legacy networks. Even though it's a legacy networks, we can able to connect it to the internet using cellular technologies, Wi-Fi or 6 LOWRAN protocols. And sensors. Sensors we have discussed about three different things. One is the battery life. If I insert a AA battery life, then it should come for at least 10 years. And the second one, it should not do any complex activity. Should not do any computing unless it is very much required. And the third one is the complexity of the circuits. If the complexity of the circuit is very high, then it has to spend a lot of power to work on the circuits. So these three things are very important in the sensors part. And the communications and network protocols. Communication and network protocol, a lot of protocols are there between sensors and the controller unit, and from controller unit to the internet world. Sensors to the controller unit, it's a very minimum distance was there. There are a lot of protocols are there based on the distance. This we have seen in the earlier video. So EMB is there, NFV is there, Zigbee, Zigbee is there, Wi-Fi is there, all Bluetooth low energy, all these protocols are there. And from controller to the internet, three main protocols are used. One is cellular technology, second one is Wi-Fi, and the third one is WiMAX, and fourth one is the new one, 6 low power or WRAN. And web services. Yes, we need a front-end devices so that we can able to see the output of the IoT project. So this is the use of the web services and cloud computing. Yes, of course, all the data will be dumped into the cloud so that we can able to see the data from anywhere across the globe and using the handheld devices. Okay, let's move on to the network part. Okay, IoT traffic character. IoT traffic character is totally different from the traditional telecom traffic. Here, each and every use case has a different QoS is required. So, customer one, customer two, customer three requires a different speeds, different class of services, different QoS settings is required. So, but our cellular technologies can able to handle this kind of situations by using network slicing method. And then the no mobility. The legacy or traditional telecom networks are made for handling the mobility of the mobile devices. So mobile devices are always in the mobile state, but comparing to the sensors, most of the sensors are in static state. So we need to modify the protocols in the cellular technologies to accommodate the static devices so that it will not continuously ping and update the locations, or it will avoid the signaling part. If you avoid the signaling part with the sensors, then you can able to save a lot of power with the with the sensors. And the third one is uniform traffic. Unlike the telecom traffic, IoT traffic is very uniform. Every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, the sensors used to send the data periodically to the higher order systems. Unless otherwise some calamity has happened or some alarm was detected, then lot of traffic related to the alarm or fault will be sent to the control center or to the internet. So this is one important thing in the IoT traffic character thing. And second one, and the next one is the jitter. Tight delay requirement is very much required for the IoT traffic. You can see in the Pepsi factory that one conveyor belt carries the Pepsi bottles, and another machine will pour the Pepsi inside the bottle, and another machine put the cap on that, and another machine group the bottles into six or five or four and put it in a container. So all these things are happening because of a tight synchronization. So that kind of synchronization is required for the IoT traffic. Especially we are driving with automatic cars or automated mobile robots. And then compared to the traditional networks, the IoT traffic is very high in the upload direction, upstream direction. But download traffic is very less because we used to send some control signals only to the download traffic. Okay, IoT network requirement. IoT network requirement. The first one and foremost thing is the reliability for critical applications. Nowadays, 5G is used in the IoT applications. This one very good example is the remote operations. So the doctor in US will do a surgery in India. So all these things are happening because of you have a very good reliable network. Network is available, then only you can able to perform this remote kind of operations using a robot. And the second one is packet loss. If you have a high packet loss, then your throughput will be very minimum. It will directly affect the throughput. So you should ensure the packet loss should be minimum and within the standards of limitations. And then the third one is the network should be very flexible enough for the changes. So every day, whenever you are coming up with very new cases, then you have to change the network. So the changes should be accommodated in the networks. So that's the one thing. And the security, yes, the security plays a crucial roles across the three layers in the IoT platform. And the fourth one is delay, variable delay requirement. Some applications are delay tight requirement, and some applications won't bother about delay, like browsing and email. All those things doesn't require strict or tighter delay requirements. And the last one is the capacity. Not all the equipment required for 1 GB of speed or 1 GB of capacity. Some equipments like sensors, temperature sensors requires data rate in terms of kilobits per second. So every use case requires a different type of capacity. So your network should handle these kind of situations also. We'll move on to the advantage of cellular technologies. Whatever we have discussed, all these things can be handled by the cellular technologies. So cellular technology has the capability to handle the IoT network traffic because it can be able to set different QoS for different use cases, and it has a very good ecosystem, and it is low cost because it is already deployed and it is used by the people with voice and internet facilities are there already. And then the scalability, you can expand or shrink the network at the convenient of your um, tools at the convenient of your tools. And the security is already implemented in the cellular technologies. And diversity, it can able to handle the different kind of traffics in the network. And finally the global reach. Cellular technology almost covered the globe. So it is very easy to implement the IoT use cases or traffic in the cellular technologies. Okay, what are all the cellular technologies available? We have seen 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G also. So which technologies is suitable for which kind of use cases? Let's see that now. We'll start with the CAT 0. Okay, so earlier all the protocols LTE or WCDMA, GSM was developed for the voice and data network only. Later on, they started accommodating the IoT traffic. Once they started accommodating the IoT traffic, they need to do certain modifications in the protocols. So whenever they do the modification, they release their versions, new versions every time. So R1, R11, R12, and all. So starting from R11, and the R11 is for LTE I'm talking about. From R11 onwards, it started supporting the IoT traffic. In R12, what is the advantages are there? 1 Mbps peak rate is there. The complexity of the network was very much reduced by 50%, so it will save a lot of battery power, low data rate, delay tolerant, and low power. It is low power consumption cases. So the sensor requires a very low power to connect to the cellular technologies, and mainly it is used for video surveillance and in-house entertainment. This is called as Cat 0. So R12 version of LTE is called as a Cat 0 partner. Next one is the CAT-M. CAT-M is M stands for Mission Type Communications. So it comes in R13 versions. So the uplink and downlink traffic rates are 5 Mbps and 10 Mbps. Here the complexity was reduced by 75%, and it also coexists with GSM and WCDA network. It has a very good network coverage, and it also implemented the security in the form of AAA technologies. So where it is used to track the asset, pet tracking, and it is also used in the fitness band. And Cat-N is also another version of R13. It is having a very low bandwidth, 180 kilohertz. Sensors like temperature sensor doesn't need a bandwidth of 1 Mbps, 2 Mbps, and all. So for a very low bandwidth application, we can start using this Cat-N. This is also called as NB-IoT, and predominantly NB-IoT was deployed across the globe along with Cat-M technologies. So this is also covered for a longer distance because the frequency part bandwidth is very less, and extended discontinuous reception cycles are introduced here. NB-IoT does not work in the LTE band. That's the important thing. It's mostly used in the agriculture and environment monitoring purposes. And yes, ECGSM, you are reading it right. GSM also will be useful in the IoT traffic. The ECGSM is called as the extended coverage GSM for IoT. It's have a very good coverage compared to all the other technologies. So the sensor has to use a minimum power to get a contact with the GSM network. Single signal combining technique and repetition techniques were used here, and discontinuous transmission is also allowed here in the ECGSM, so that most of the time the sensors are sleeping, and we will not disturb the sensor by sending constant control signals like a location update and all. And it is mainly used in agriculture and environmental monitoring. And finally, the 5G part. High data rate applications, where video surveillance applications require 5G, and if you require a low latency, then you should go for 5G operations. So 5G is mainly working on millimeter waves technologies, and also it is working on in 26 gigahertz bands and all. So millimeter technologies, if you are using millimeter technologies, you are using E band and V band. If you are using E band and V band, the frequency is very high, and the gain of the antennas is also very high. In that case, you can reduce the antenna size. The antenna size will be very small, so that it can be installed in the smart cells or street cells also. It can able to handle 1 million devices per cell on a single transceiver. So this is mainly used in robotic operations, virtual realities, and in automatic cars. And finally, we are talking about Cat4. Cat4 is not mainly used in the IoT use cases, but it is used in the aggregator environments. So the downlink and uplink speeds are 150 Mbps and 50 Mbps. It can able to coexist with the other technologies. It is mainly used in IoT gateways, routers, and network bridges. Okay, what are all the challenges of implementing the IoT project? The first one is the power. The sensor should utilize very minimum power, and with it has to sustain with the same power for at least 10 years. Then how to identify the terminal identifier cases. That is another challenge. And the addresses, and we are already exhausted with IP addressing. So we have to go for another IPv6 addressing method. And the devices. So we have already discussed most of the devices, most of the cellular technologies were designed for the mobility, considering the mobility and in place. But IoT devices doesn't require mobility, and most of the sensors are static. So we need to continuously modify the protocols according to the IoT standards. So that's one another challenge. Traffic network has to handle massive traffic, and also the every use case has a different kind of traffic pattern. So the network should handle all those things by using a network slicing method. And security, increased attacks in the air. So we have to provide a tight security in the air, in all levels of the IoT. Okay. And finally, we will come to a book definition. What is there in the book for IoT definition? So it has given us a dynamic global internetwork with self-configuring capabilities of devices, mechanical and digital machines, objects, animals, people that have unique identities, physical attributes, virtual personalities, seamlessly integrated to transfer information associated with users and environment over the network without human interference. This was a proper definition for IoT. So don't get confused. What we are doing, Internet of Things. Things is nothing but sensors, actuators, machines, human beings, and animals. So all these things are going to smell the environment and send the data to the internet, gain the knowledge from the internet, and they will react upon the environment based on the existing conditions. So that's what the definition of the IoT. That's all, that's all, viewers. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.